So what's the best class to play in PvP right now? At the time of this recording, in early April of 2025, we did not have the balance update of mid of April yet, but I can already tell you there will be no major changes. So big disclaimer here, this will be still up to date at the end of April for the most part. If there will be really big changes after the balance patch for whatever reason, I will of course update this tier list. This is not going to change a lot, I would say. That's my opinion. Of course, if you want to see all the tier lists and always stay up to date, be sure to subscribe. But now let's start with my short description of all the tiers. So I'm talking here about ranked Guild Wars 2 PvP, mostly solo queue. So how good are builds in solo queue in ranked? That doesn't mean how good they are in very high level monthly ATs and that kind of stuff, where you have a 5-person team around you that you can support and whatever, craft really crazy builds, synergies. We are talking about ranked, where you have the zoo of all the people that play together, and sometimes you get bronze tier enemies and in a platinum match. So please, this is what I'm considering here. So I'm talking about ranked, and that means that every single build is actually, every single elite spec is actually playable. Don't worry, everything is viable, but I'm rating it how hard you can carry, how well it actually performs in comparison to the others. So that doesn't mean that I put something in C tier, you shouldn't play it. If you like it, you should still play it, and that's the most important thing. But if you want to win and you just care about rating, you should probably pick something that is higher up the tier list. And this is of course only my opinion, that might be not your opinion. Please let me your take in the comments as well. But I will really try to put out my arguments why I put something in a specific tier as well. So I hope that makes sense for all the people watching, and especially for those that actually want to learn what class they should start out PvP with. And I'm talking from a perspective of a player that is very experienced in PvP. I'm always in Platinum around. Currently I'm Platinum 1 and I'm on a U, so that might was a slightly different playstyle than on an A, but the builds that we play are mostly the same. So without much further ado, let's start with the first class, which is Warrior. So Warrior, I would say we have already Bladezone. There is actually quite a tanky Bladezone build that you can play, and it's actually decent, okay as a side note, as a duelist, but I would say for the most part it's just very tanky. It's not doing a lot of stuff. So I would say for me that's a C tier build. You can play it, it's not very good. Then you have Core Warrior. Core Warrior can either play as a support or as a very tanky side note again. Both of those are just very annoying to deal with, but they are not carrying their matches for the most part. They have crazy amount of healing output if you play it as a healing build, but I would also put it in C tier. It's not total garbage, don't get me wrong, but it's like you typically should not play that if you really want to carry your match. Then we have Berserker. Berserker is in a sad spot. You can play Berserker either as a full power rival or greatsword memer, or you can play it as a Condi side-noting build. Both of those builds are actually just slightly outperformed by all the other classes for the most part. That's the sad truth. It's just not where it once was. It needs definitely some buffs, and you can definitely make it work, don't get me wrong. That's true for all the builds that are above C tier, I would say. You can actually make all of them work, but C tier or above. But I would say it's not crazy. It will not be the build that makes you easily win all the matches. It's still a build that needs some very high skill to actually be played. So that's why I would put it in C tier as well. So currently Warrior, you see, not in a crazy good spot. But then we have Spellbreaker. I would say Strength Spellbreaker in particular is very strong right now. It is not insane, but it's a very good build to actually stomp a lot of noobs. So I would put it in low A tier, high B tier. For now I put it in A tier because it's actually quite strong. What it can do, has amazing damage output, and is of course outclassed by a lot of S tier builds and probably also by a lot of A tier builds. So maybe I have to degrade it then later. But for now I put it in A tier. It's a very nice and fun build. Let's talk about Guardian. So Guardian is interesting. We have Core Guardian, which is a very nice support. I would say you can play that as a support still, but it's outclassed by the meta supports for the most part. It's just a relic of the past, and it's not that hard, but it's also not that great as a ranked support, I would say. Supports always have it quite hard in ranked. They can carry quite hard, but they're also very team reliant, so it feels somewhat painful to play a support, and Core Guardian is no exception to that rule. So I would put Core Guardian also in C tier. It's you can play it, but it's typically not the carry build that you want to have. Then we have Firebrand. I would say Firebrand you can make work in ranked, but to be honest, if you're in gold and above, I would say it's a very easy target to focus, and it's also quite hard to play. That's why I would put it in the first D tier build, because it's just, why are you playing that if you could play easier supports that have way more impact? And if you play it as something else than support, then you are trolling, I would say. It's not a good build, sadly. Then we have DH. DH is just played as a bunker build or as some really aggressive Predator DH, but both of them are just not very crazy carry potential. You can play them in ranked, but it's not like it's insane. I would say it's, if you are a DH enjoyer, you can, but it's sadly not where it once was. That's why I would put it in C tier. It's just not as good. Then we have Willbender. That will be my first hot take. People always say, oh, Willbender is so broken. I mean, they got nerfed over the course of the last few patches, and I would say Willbender is now in a very okay spot. It's not broken at all anymore. I think you can easily deal with it with a lot of classes nowadays. They still have a lot of damage, yes, but they are very squishy and very easy targets for the most part. And if you have a very nice support, then it can be a menace. But for the most part in ranked, I would say it's a very nice carry build, but it's not a broken build anymore. So I would put it for now maybe in high A tier or low S tier, something like that. Let's put it for now in low S tier. But I would say we will see what other builds we put in S tier, and I would say that it might not be as broken anymore. Maybe it's only A tier, because you can get one-shotted and it kills so fast by a lot of other builds that are currently around. So yeah, let's see. We will leave it for that for now, but we have to decide later on that. Now let's talk about Revenant. Revenant is in a weird spot, because Revenant has some specs that are actually really underrated and is overall actually performing quite well. So we have Core Revenant. I would say Core Revenant is just very bad. You can play a tank, but it's just play something else. It's not good. And you can play it, of course, but it's a tank on the side note, and it's just all the other elite specs are better. Then we have Herald. Herald is absolutely broken. You can play it as a Condi build. You can play it as a power build. Power Spear Herald, power Retribution Herald, whatever. You always play Retribution, and it's insane. Herald is really, really good. It's such a good build. It can be in a 1-on-1, in a team fight, in a 2v2. It's perfect. It plays every single role, and that's what you want in a ranked match. It's one of the best builds, if not the best build currently to play in a ranked match. It's really good. It's really underrated. Vindicator wants to be a Herald, but is not doing that very nicely, because it's a little bit harder to play first on the baseline what it has with the alliance stance and stuff, but doesn't provide that much value. So I would say for me, Vindicator, low A tier or high B tier. Let's put it in B tier for now, because you can perform very well, because you're very evasive on this build and very hard to catch if you play it right. But for the most part, if you play Vindicator really good, you would perform better if you would play on Herald. So that's why it's in B tier. Yeah, if you get what I mean. And then we have Renegade. That's really interesting. I think Renegade, you can make some crazy tanky builds with it. And I think it's very underrated how good it is. And it will be after the patch actually better because of the buffs to it. So I put it for now in B tier, but I will put it probably after the patch in A tier. Maybe even in S tier, depending how hard the buffs actually hit it. We have to test it, so bear with me. I don't know how good it will be, but it is currently already quite strong as a really annoying build. So I would probably put it already in A tier. I think it's actually quite underrated how good it is. Yeah, and if I see it like that, then I think I would also put Spellbreaker in B tier. I think Spellbreaker doesn't deserve to be in A tier if you have those builds there. Yeah, I think that's like a good place to put all the heavy armor classes. I think let's continue with the medium armor classes. So we have Thief. Thief is interesting. You can play actually quite a lot of Thief specs right now. They are quite interesting how strong they are in ranked, because you can play an X-Thief with Core or even with Daredevil and Deadeye if you really wanted to. I would put Core Thief in D tier. It's not that good, but Daredevil is actually quite good. I think Daredevil is highly underrated. I think would put Daredevil in A tier. I think Daredevil has amazing damage. You can play it as with the X, or you can play it with a Sword Dagger setup and bound, and you will be really annoying and can't even win the 1-on-1s with it. It's really underrated how good it is currently. And of course you have to be really aggressive on it and have to play it correctly, because it's really squishy and stuff. But if you do it correctly, it's extremely strong in the rank. Then we have Deadeye. I think Deadeye is just worse than Daredevil on every single part. It's less mobility, less damage. It's just not as good as it once was. I would put Deadeye as well in C tier. It's just not as good anymore. And then we have Spectre. I think Spectre is really hard to rate because if you have a decent other player, doesn't even have to be a party member, you know. So if you know that there is one player in your match that is in your team that is actually decent, you can play a Spectre very well because you're the 2v2 god, so to say. Because you are very nice in supporting while still dealing a lot of damage, and Spectre will get even buffed. So I think Spectre is even stronger after the patch. But if you don't have someone that you can actually support and get value from your support-ish nature as a DPS build, I would say Spectre falls off. So I would put Spectre in A tier for that reason as well. I think Spectre is very underrated. It's a hard class to play. It's very unique, and that makes it very team dependent as well, because you need to support your allies to get full value of your Spectre. But with the Blast Finisher coming to Scepter 2, you actually are very, very strong, and it's easier stealth access. It's actually insane. So I think Spectre after the patch definitely high A tier. Engineer, yeah, what can I say? Mechanist, really bad. Don't play Mechanist in ranked. It's just not good. It's very easy to play, and that's why people always fall in the trap to play it in bronze, silver, and maybe even up to gold. But it's not a good build. Please don't play it. It's play another engineer spec or play another elite spec. You will perform better probably. Then we have Scrapper. I think Scrapper is, yeah, you can play some Scrapper builds, but overall Scrapper, even the Nade Scrapper, is just too squishy, only has a few stun breaks, if it at all. So it's not as good. C tier, you can't really perform on it in the current meta. You get just absolutely destroyed by S and A tier build. It's absolutely insane. If there's at least one of those builds in a match, you can't play that anymore, sadly. Then we have Core Engineer. I think Core Engineer can play. It's in B tier. With Spear, you can make it work. But it's, again, you should probably not play it. It's low B tier for me. Of course, you can play it really well if you're a very good player, because it's obviously that's how it works. There are not that many people playing Guild Wars 2 PvP anymore. But if you played another build like Herald, you would probably carry harder than on Core Engineer. That's just how it is. Then we have Hollowsmith. Hollowsmith is in a weird spot. It will get buffed, so it will get better than it now is. It is currently actually quite underrated, I would say, because you can actually play it as a very nice DPS that is actually very capable of killing melee classes, like, for example, the Willbender, because you have so much range pressure, and it's actually also quite sustainable if you play it with Alchemy and the Prot Holo and stuff. So you can actually make it work. It's hard for me to judge how good it is, because it's always very hard to see a very good Hollowsmith to play against you, because if you see a bad Hollowsmith in the match, it feels like they are completely useless. But if you play with a good or against a good Hollowsmith, you actually will see how well it actually can perform. So I would put it for now in high B tier, but after the patch it can go in A tier, I would say. And then lastly we have Ranger for the medium armor classes. I would say Core Ranger is just, you can play it, yes, but it's just not that good. I would say it's D tier because it's I don't know. What are you doing? All the other Ranger elite specs are just better. I would say Druid and Ranked is just very annoying on the side note. It plays like a Bladethorn, it plays like a Core Warrior. It's very tanky, really annoying. You can win, of course, the matches because you can be outnumbered and stuff, but it's not a classical ranked bit that easily carry all the matches. It's just, you are very annoying. That's the main force of this build. You can't play it as a support, sadly. That's not how it works. And then we have Soul Beast. Soul Beast, yeah, it's a shadow of its former self. Not that good. I would say you can play it as a Condi build if you can perform on it, but you can play it as a power build as well. You can also perform on it if you really know what you're doing, but sadly it's not the crazy rank carry build. It feels like for me it's low B tier. It's better than a Druid for most people if you can perform on it, because you have damage. On a Druid you don't, but I think both of those builds are not that good anymore. On the other hand, we have Untamed. I think Untamed is really good. Spear Untamed is not as good as it once was, because it got nerfed, but it is still very good. Has amazing damage, struggles a bit against Condis, but is a very good pick and is also very strong in ranked if you can deal with all the mechanics that you have to be aware of as an Untamed. So it's not the easiest class to play, but it's a very good build to carry because you can take 1-on-1s, you can take a lot of damage, and you can deal a lot of damage. So I think overall very good spec for ranked, maybe low S tier because of that. maybe A tier, depending on who you asked and who you actually face as well. So I think it's hard to judge. Let's put it in high A tier for that reason. Let's now go to the light armor classes. Light armor classes are again very interesting. Let's start with Necromancer. So Necromancer, we have Core Necromancer. I think Core Necromancer you can play. It's not good. It's very slow. It's very tanky and has some really nice CC lock, but yeah, it's not crazy. Will not carry the match by itself. So I would put it in C tier. You can see the scheme here is everything in C tier you can definitely play, but you have better options. So that's why they are in C tier. In D tier, I would say classes are typically, you just grieve on them for the most part. You would, if you see them in your match, you're typically very sad because it's at least if they are in your team. If they're in the enemy team, you are actually quite happy because they are not that good. That's the thing. Then we have Harbinger. I think Harbinger, it's just got power crept, or at least not. The spear is not as good as it once was. And you are very squishy. If you are the target, you will die very fast. So it's a nice build in a lot of 101s actually, because you have so much lifesteal. But you struggle against Condi and you have so little defensive against, if 3 people go on you, you will be dead because you're so squishy. So that makes you really annoying to play. And that's why I would put it in B tier. I think in ranked it's definitely playable and it's really strong if you play it correctly. But it's also very weak against a lot of situations that you could throw at it in ranked. So that's why it's there. Then we have Scourge, definitely D tier. Don't play it, really bad. Has crazy bad numbers in PvP and should not be played. It's just not good. And then we have Reaper. I think Reaper in ranked currently is really good. It is out-trapped by a lot of S tier builds, and that's why you get really bullied by, for example, Herald, Power Herald, and a lot of other builds that can really stick to it and really pressure it a lot. For example, sometimes Willbender and Untamed can really be annoying to fight, also X-Thief. So it has a lot of counters that have been really annoying, but if you play it correctly, you can carry your match definitely with it. So that's why we put it in A tier as well. It's definitely a very strong carry pick and can sometimes be really bad because you might be the focus of all the enemies and they're all faster than you and you will get killed instantly and your team can't help you, or your team is not helping you at least. So I think that can feel really bad, but I think you can carry your match as well if you kite really well and still deal damage. So I think Reaper, decent spot. Did not get changed in a year or so, but it's still a very, very good build. It always depends how the meta revolves around it. So currently I would say decent in A tier. Then we have Elementalist. Yeah, what can I say? Core Elementalist is just not good. It's just a worse catalyst for all intents and purposes, I would say. So D tier, don't play it. Then we have Weaver. Yeah, I mean Weaver is also, you can play some tanky Hammer Weaver that is actually decent, but it's somewhat weak against conditions. So I would say it depends on the matchup. But for me, I would say it's C tier. It's a tanky side noting build. You can also play Fresh Air Weaver, but yeah, I mean, at this point, there are probably better Weavers or better Elementalist specs to play. Then we have Tempest. Tempest, I would say you can play as a tanky side-loading Sage Tempest, but that's not that good anymore. It got nerfed. Mostly you play it as a support Tempest, and I would say support Tempest is actually quite good. I would put it in S tier, in A tier rather, because I feel like you are one of the best supports, but sometimes you can't carry with it because you might get focused very easily. You are quite squishy and you provide a lot of healing and cleanses and a lot of CC, but your damage is not there. You are really just doing supporting. You are not damaging at all, and that is really sometimes annoying ranked because you can't take 2v2s. You always have to be with at least 2 other people, otherwise you are just useless. So that can be really bad, but the glyph can be really helpful. So I would say A tier. Then we have Catalyst. Yeah, Catalyst, what can I say? Really, really good build. You play it either as a Hammer Catalyst, which is really, really good as a side-noting build, really aggressive, and a little bit slow, but really aggressive. And you can also play it in a team fight, actually, because you have actually quite a nice output there as well. But the better build, for the most part, is Dagger as a side-noting build. It's a little bit stronger right now, and has a little bit less DPS potential, but is more defensive, and therefore can outnumber situations better. It's not as good as in a team fight, but overall Catalyst extremely strong right now. Definitely S tier as well. Very good build, especially if you like the duelist role. Really, really good in most ranked matches for that matter. and the mobility of a dagger is definitely helping it a lot. And lastly, we have Mesmer. Mesmer is interesting. We have core Mesmer, really bad. Don't play core Mesmer. It's just you're trolling at this point, I would say. And we have Virtuoso. I think Virtuoso is actually quite decent. It's quite annoying how much invulnerability and blocks and uptime and stuff like you have, and you have a lot of range damage that can really kill a lot of people. For example, if you fight against even a Catalyst, even a Willbender, all those builds can be really easy to shut down as a Virtuoso because you have so much range, and if you play with the unblockable trait, you can negate the magnetic aura completely and stuff. So you can actually kill them quite easily because you have so much range. But I would say it's also quite squishy, so you can get killed by a Power Herald. Even the Untamed can kill you quite easily if you see C-Logs. So I would say for the most part, it's a good rank build that has its weaknesses, and that's why I would put it in A tier, in low A tier for now. It's definitely a build that you can play and you can carry with, but it's not S tier. And then we have Mirage. Mirage is interesting because Mirage has, so to say, I should have put 2 Mirages in there. Because if you are playing it very, very good, so if you're very, very skilled player, you can play Mirage really crazy, and you should probably put it in S tier in rank because you can stomp all the enemies because you're so fast, you have a lot of damage, you have a burst, you're very evasive. But the problem is, if you are, let's say, at gold rating or something like that, you will not be as skilled as you need to be to make this class work, and it looks way worse. So if you're playing in gold, I would say Mirage is B tier. If you're playing in Platinum and higher, I would say Mirage is S tier because you have so much damage. So it's really hard to judge for me, and that's why I put it in A tier. Sorry, it's in the middle ground here, so to say. I would say it has amazing potential if you play it really well, but most people don't, and then they feed, and that's why I would say the class is not really carrying you. So it's more like a class that is helping you to win harder. So if you're already, let's say, above the average skill level in the current ranked match, you will carry with it. If you're below the average or at the average, you will get farmed. That's just how it is. And I think that's why it should not be S tier for the most part, because most people will not be the highest scaled player in a ranked match, and then the Mirage will not carry you the spec itself. And lastly, we have Chronomancer. I think Chronomancer, you have to play support right now. It's the only option, and it's probably the best support out there. So just because of that, I have to put it in S tier. It's very, very good, and it's a very, very versatile support as well, because you can take 2v2s, which Staff Tempest can't do, and you also can't, for example, have a lot of damage on Staff Tempest while you have a lot of damage or decent amount of damage on Chronomancer with the Spear. So I think Chronomancer is really versatile in what you can do, and that's what you want from a ranked support. You have a lot of possible cleanses, healing output, super speed, resistance, all that nice good stuff. Even the portal is in there, so it's a really nice ranked build. But you're still a support, so that's why I would say to carry, I would rather go with the more aggressive options, but still. I also remembered that I have to do one adjustment. So currently there is a build that is played, that is a Spellbreaker build, that is as a support Spellbreaker, and it's currently on NA quite good, I would say. So if you consider that as well, together with the Strength Spellbreaker, I would put it in A because of that, because they are really good. But I would say Chronomancer is still the better support because you are actually more versatile. But the Spellbreaker apparently is really good against Condies because you have so many cleanses with the shouts. So that can be a worthwhile consideration for the most part. So that's my tier list. Let me know your comments on that, if you would agree with me, or if you have any feedback on that. What's your opinion on that? I would say, like I said, S to B tier, everyone would agree with me. You can play that in ranked and play decently well and carry your matches with it. C and D tier, I would say it's harder to actually perform really crazy on it because they are just decent specs that can be played. They are viable to some extent, but they are not as broken as the S tier specs. And if you play D tier specs, I mean, yes, you can have fun, but it's not the spec that carries you. It's more like your own skill. And that's not what this tier list is about. So I hope you enjoyed this tier list. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more tier lists like that. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks to all my supporters on YouTube, Twitch, and Patreon. Thanks, Malist. Thanks, Lane. And I hope to see you all in the next video.